Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, aka the Football History Dude, and before we get into this episode brought to you by the Sports History Network, I wanted to tell you about another book giveaway that we have on the website. Our friend of the network, Timothy J. Brown, is giving away 5 copies of his latest book. This book is titled Hut Hut Hike, A History of Football Terminology. This book explores the history of football terminology by examining when and why more than 400 familiar words and expressions entered the game. By linking the game's evolution to changes in its language, readers learn the origins of first string, basic fundamentals, X's and O's, long snapper, and hundreds more of terms used in every football conversation or broadcast. Organized in easy-to-read, bite-sized chunks and filled with period images and illustrations, Hut Hut Hike tells football's history one word at a time. Now, to sign up for a chance to win your copy of the book, head to sportshistorynetwork.com/giveaways. Again, that's sportshistorynetwork.com/giveaways.
Now it's time to take a sports break, a look at sports history on a daily basis. Hello, my friends of sports history. This is Darren Hayes of the Sports Jersey Dispatch podcast. Welcome once again to the Pig Pen, your place for all things great in sports history, and welcome to your sports break for the January 15th edition, as we will talk about some of the greatest athletes in the world and some milestone moments that they had on the date of January 15th through history, and some great sporting events as well as the uniform numbers that these folks may have wore when they did these great events. But before we get to that, let's make sure you're aware of, since if you like jersey numbers, we cover the greatest athletes of the 4 major North American sports and professional levels right now, and we're moving on into some other things later, but you can go to any sport, you could do a Google search on it, or you can go to our search box on jerseydispatch.com and type in the greatest NHL players at number 16, number 81, whatever you want to do, the greatest NBA players at number 12, the greatest NFL players at number 10. You can look at all those and see the collection of these great athletes that wore that jersey number and wore it proudly, and some of the best athletes that wore that number. So make sure you check that out on jerseydispatch.com. Now for your uniform numbers for this January 15th that we'll cover today. The numbers are 3, 1, 33, 14, 19, 70, 24, 12, 55, 16, 79, 54, 45, and number 56. January 15th, 1892 is where we'll start, and the basketball rules first published were in the Triangle magazine, and they were written by Mr. James Naismith, the creator of basketball, who, had to come up with a sport in the off-season of football to keep those athletes in shape, and a great way to do that is you have 11 on a side in football, is to have 2 teams of 5, and running around in a basketball gym, or a gymnasium at the time, wasn't a basketball gym. And, the story is tremendous with first they wanted to have boxes to throw the box into. And a janitor was sent to go try to find some boxes that the round ball would fit into, and he found some old peach baskets, and thus the name basketball was by Mr. James Naismith and that janitor way back when. January 15th, 1934, probably the most famous number 3 in baseball history, Babe Ruth of the New York Yankees took an approximately 33% pay cut at the end of his career for 1 year to play for $35,000. Not a bad sum back in 1934. January 15th, 1950, Terry Sawchuk, the legendary goalie of the Detroit Red Wings, recorded his first shutout in his NHL career against the New York Rangers in a 1-0 score. Now, the rookie goaltender, wearing the number 1 on the back of his sweater, would go on to register an amazing 115 games without letting a goal go between the pipes on his watch during his tenured career between the pipes. January 15th, 1956, the 6th National Football League Pro Bowl, Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. It was the Eastern Conference in this game that defeated the Western Conference by the score of 31-30. That must have been a great one to watch. The MVP of this game was Chicago Cardinals running back, number 33, Ollie Matson. Now, Ollie Matson has a great story, and our friend Joe Ziemba on his When Football Was Football podcast, as well as a couple of his books on the Chicago Cardinals, has some great information on Ollie Matson if you're interested. You can go and find both Joe's books and his podcast on sportshistorynetwork.com. January 15, 1957, at the 7th NBA All-Star Game, the Boston Celtics point guard Bob Cousy, sporting his number 14 jersey, won the game's MVP award in front of a home crowd at the Boston Garden. In the game, it was the East team defeating the West 109-97, and according to the Boston Globe the next day, Cousy edged out Maurice Stokes of the West based on his late-game playmaking and ball handling that befuddled the opposition. We have a great picture from the Boston Globe, that article from newspapers.com on Jersey Dispatch for this January 15th edition. January 15th, 1961, the 11th Pro Bowl. The Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, the Western Conference, defeated the Eastern Conference 35-31. Most valuable players, and there were two of them. They were on offense, quarterback of the Baltimore Colts, number 19, Johnny Unitas, and for the defense, it was the New York Giants' great linebacker, number 70, Sam Huff, two true legends of that 1960s era football. You can't get any better than that, than Huff and Unitas. January 15, 1964, the San Francisco Giants make champion outfielder Willie Mays, wearing number 24, the highest paid player in baseball when they signed him to a new $105,000 per season contract. That was really big money for an athlete in those days. Now, January 15, 1966, the 5th AFL All-Star Game at Rice Stadium in Houston. The All-Stars defeated the champion Buffalo Bills 30-19. Most valuable players were New York Jets quarterback number 12, Joe Namath. We'll hear about him quite a bit in the future of football. And on defense, Los Angeles Chargers linebacker number 55, Frank Buncombe. On January 15, 1967, it was a true watershed moment in football history. Super Bowl I, then known as the AFL-NFL Championship game, was played at the LA Memorial Coliseum in LA. Now, the Green Bay Packers defeated the Kansas City Chiefs 35-10. Most valuable player was Green Bay Packers quarterback number 12, Bart Starr. And over on PigskinDispatch.com for the January 15th edition, it's on the front page of PigskinDispatch.com. We have a great write-up on Super Bowl I and Bart Starr and the whole game they're going, and a lot of links to some other articles that we have there. So make sure you check that out, PigskinDispatch.com. January 15th, 1974, it was the 24th NBA All-Star Game at the Seattle Center Coliseum. It was the West defeating the East 134-23. Most valuable player was Detroit Pistons number 16, Bob Lanier. And we have some great basketball podcasts over on Sports History Network. We have the Basketball 101 with host Rick Loaiza, Basketball 101, and we also have a newer podcast to Sports History Network, Dingers and Dunks, with host Shad Kane. Both excellent jobs on basketball. And don't forget about the Historically Speaking podcast with Dana Auguster, as well as Hello Old Sports with the Newman brothers, Dan and Andrew. A lot of basketball being covered there. Oh, and Warren Rogan, too. Those are just a few of the great NBA and professional basketball podcasts you can check out on Sports History Network, and I strongly recommend you to do that. Now, January 15, 1978, we had another Super Bowl. It was Super Bowl 12 in the Louisiana Superdome. In New Orleans, Louisiana was the host city, and the Dallas Cowboys defeated the Denver Broncos 27-10 in a rare fashion. The most valuable player, there was two of them for the Super Bowl, and they were both on the defensive side. As Dallas defensive end, number 79, Harvey Martin, and his Cowboys teammate, defensive tackle, number 54, Randy White, shared the honor because what a brick wall they caused for the Denver Broncos to try to run through, and they obviously didn't do a good job of it, only scoring 10 points in that game. Now, January 15th, 1981, the St. Louis Cardinals legendary pitcher, number 45, Bob Gibson, was elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility after a stellar 17-year career. He pulls 337 votes from the Baseball Writers Association of America, and for that day, that is a pretty big number, very popular vote to get him in, and very deservedly so. And on January 15, 1986, Montreal's rookie goaltender number 33, Patrick Waugh, recorded the first of his 66 career NHL shutouts between the pipes in the Canadiens' 4-0 win over the Winnipeg Jets at the Forum. In 1987, on the 15th of January, we had the Boston Celtics legendary forward, number 33, Larry Bird. What a player he was. He was named as the Man of the Year by the Sporting News and the Athlete of the Year by the Associated Press. the interesting thing about that, no wonder that Larry Bird would get that, but this is the first time that one athlete gained both distinctions in both of those periodicals. Very rare indeed, and Larry Bird got that honor. What a great player. January 15th, 1994, the New York Football Giants legendary linebacker number 56, Lawrence Taylor, announced his retirement from playing football in the NFL. January 15th, 1997, the Seattle Supersonics number 14, Sam Perkins, tied another NBA legendary 14, Jeff Hornacek's NBA single-game record by connecting on 8 straight three-point field goals during the Sonics' 122-78 thumping of the visiting Toronto Raptors. Now, Hornacek set a then NBA record with 8 consecutive three-pointers in a single game against the Seattle Supersonics on November 23rd, 1994. So the Supersonics were involved in both of those games, one with their guy Perkins hitting them, and the other, originally before that, was Hornacek against them, scoring those great numbers. And the Seattle also, during that 1997 game, set an NBA steals record with 27 in the contest against the Raptors, and they were just suffering some great play by Seattle that day. Was Toronto taking some early bruises in that season. So that is your sports history for this January 15th. Some great sports break moments and great uniform moments, and preserving this history of sports in such an amazing way, talking about these great athletes and the things that they've done. We do this each and every day. It's no surprise. We're certainly glad that you joined us today. We'd love to have you and welcome you to join us each and every day. And you can also find us, our website, jerseydispatch.com, and our sister station, pigskindispatch.com. Some great football, some great sports history there. Orville Mulligan Sports Writer is another project that we are associated with. It's a great sports history audio drama, which I think you'll find very interesting. A lot of accurate football and baseball and wrestling and boxing and general American history is involved in that. Oz Davis does a great job of writing, and we have some tremendously talented actors that participate in that, and I think you'll really find it enjoyable. OrvilleMulligan.com or on the Sports History Network or your favorite podcast provider under Orville Mulligan Sports Writer. Now, till tomorrow, everybody, have a great sports history day. This penalty kill is almost over. I got to get back out on the ice. But thanks again for joining us for another great edition of Sports Jersey Dispatch Podcast. We'll see you tomorrow. We invite you to check out our websites, jerseydispatch.com and pigskindispatch.com. Not only see the daily sports history, but to experience the preservation of great events and people that play the games. Find us on Pigskin Dispatch. It's also on social media outlets of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all your daily sports history. Pigskin Dispatch is happy to be associated with the Sports History Network, the sports headquarters of yesteryear, found at sportshistorynetwork.com.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com. Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website, seriously, all you got to do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you got to do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.